7 p.m. A free reception featuring the artwork of Jill Knox, Gilda Davidian, Razmik Samvelts, Natasha June, and John Rajkovich. Wine and light refreshments will be served. Brand Library and Park Open House. Sunday, March 30th at 12 noon. A family event featuring live music, food trucks, and activities. For more information, visit www.brandlibrary.org.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the March 4th, 2014 meeting of the Glendale City Council, being called to order at 6:02 p.m. May we have a roll call?
Council members: Friedman.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Quintero. Sinanian.
Here.
Mayor Weaver.
Here. The flag salute tonight will be led by Councilmember Najarian and the invocation by Chaplain Al Carcelazzo of Glendale Adventist Medical Center. Please stand.
Please rise and join me in the salute to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the invocation.
Let us pray. Dear God, we are grateful to be here tonight, and we thank you for the civil and religious liberties that we enjoy. As we gather here tonight for the City Council meeting, we pray as always that you will bless every aspect of this meeting, that you will especially bless and guide our mayor, City Council members, and all those who live and work in Glendale. I also want to lift up this great nation of ours and pray that you will bless our president and all of our political leaders, grant them wisdom and insight as they make difficult decisions and face difficult challenges. Now, fill us with your spirit and grant us your peace. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay, we have your report.
The agenda for the March 4th, 2014 regular meeting of the Glendale City Council was posted on Thursday, February 27, 2014, on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. And what is next?
Next item on the agenda at 3 is presentation and appointments. At 3A is a proclamation designating the month of March 2014 as March for Meals.
Thank you. And who is receiving this? Anybody? Okay, stand by till I read the proclamation. Okay, here's the proclamation. Whereas on March 22nd, 1972, President Richard Nixon signed into law a measure that amended the Older Americans Act of 1965 and established a national nutrition program for seniors 60 years and older. And whereas the Meals on Wheels Association of America established the National March for Meals campaign in March 2002 to recognize the historic month, the importance of Older Americans Act senior nutrition programs, and raise awareness about senior hunger in America. And whereas the 2014 observance of the March for Meals campaign provides an opportunity to support senior nutrition programs that deliver vital and critical services by donating, volunteering, and raising awareness about senior hunger. And whereas Drivers for Meals on Wheels program at the City of Glendale are the backbone of the program and delivering nutritious meals to homebound seniors and individuals with disabilities, but also caring, concern, and attention to their welfare. And whereas the senior nutritional programs at the City of Glendale provide nutritious meals to seniors to help them avoid premature or unnecessary hospitalization and institutionalization, and provide a powerful socialization opportunity to help combat loneliness and isolation. And whereas senior nutrition programs at the City of Glendale deserve recognition for the contribution they have made and will continue to make to our community. Now, therefore, I, Dave Weaver, Mayor of the City of Glendale, proclaim March 2014 as March for Meals Month and urge every citizen to take time this month to honor our senior nutrition programs, the seniors they serve, and the volunteers who care for them. Our recognition of and involvement in the national 2014 March for the Meals campaign can enrich our entire community and help end senior hunger in America, so no senior goes hungry. Would you like to hear the next senior?
Mayor Weaver, council members and staff, I'm Maggie Kavarian, Community Services Supervisor with the Senior Nutritional Meals Program. Our agency is here tonight alongside our colleagues from Salvation Army, Meals on Wheels, to raise awareness for Glendale's homebound elderly and frail seniors.
Wait a second. I should have had Mr. Nigerian present that to you first. Cart before the horse.
Congratulations to everyone. Thank you for all your good work. Thank you.
I'm not thinking. Wait, go on.
These seniors receive our safety net services here in the City of Glendale and Salvation Army Meals on Wheels. And to kick off our month-long March for Meals celebration, I'd like to introduce our community champions who have graciously volunteered to deliver meals the week of March 17th through the 21st with our meal driver, Arthur Solomonian. And our community champions include Joby Atashi, General Manager of Subaru of Glendale. Subaru of Glendale partnered with our nutrition program recently and donated 80 blankets during our winter months to our homebound seniors and has pledged to hand out flashlights along with meals during our meal route, as well as Tres Hermanas Taqueria restaurateur Nubar Bedrosian, who worked with our Human Services section last winter, in which Tres Hermanas donated 300 lunches for our Senior Homeless Connect Day participants, and our very own Police Chief Robert Castro. He's volunteered to ride along, deliver meals, and visit with our homebound residents. And to accept our proclamation tonight is Edgar Martirosian, a very proud Glendale resident, and as of Sunday night, a worldwide celebrity. I recognize him from this year's Oscars when he delivered pizza alongside Ellen DeGeneres to movie stars like Meryl Streep, Brad Pitt, and his favorite actress, Julia Roberts.
Well, that's not where the Meals on Wheels usually goes, right?
Where's your red jacket?
Good job. You put Glendale on the map, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Say something, because we want to know what it's like on the show and the Oscar.
It was a good experience. I didn't have an idea that I'm going to go over there, so...
Well, when you went down there, did you have any idea she was going to call you out on the stage?
No, I didn't. Actually, they were doing like 3 days interview. There was other pizzerias. I own that Big Mamas and Papas on Sunset, which is in Hollywood. So they were interviewing through other old pizzerias, and after those 3 days interviews, they choose me. And then they give me all the passes, everything to go in to that day. Actually, they came, when they ordered pizzas, they came to pick me up. And they went in. I was with the pizza stain. They told me first it's for riders and for employees. So when I was waiting over there, the Ellen, she came out and she introduced herself, and I introduced myself. And then she told me just, you're going to follow me whenever I'm going to tell you. And I'm like, where we are going? And she just followed me. And then I'm on the stage. So that was the story.
You were watching, it's a good thing you didn't know what was going to happen beforehand, or you'd have freaked out. But right down into the audience with them, I thought, is this a put-up? I mean, is this real? But when the actors started taking the pizzas, God, it's not bad.
That was actually real, but it was a good surprise for me. And all these days now, in front of my pizza shop, there is a lot of
lines.
It's lined. The business, it went up like 2-3 times.
You ran out of dough, right?
Yeah, a lot of from all the channels. I was yesterday at Ellen's Live, CNN. I'm getting calls from India, Australia, Germany, like all over the world. So.
But wouldn't you say that appearing here tonight is really the biggest high, much more than the Oscars? This is a lot more exciting.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, because everything is exciting.
But you know, you ought to franchise now. Now that you have contacts in India and everybody else, might as well franchise.
And actually, my brother and I, we are opening a new restaurant in Silver Lake, which is going to be wood-burning oven restaurant. So in 2-3 weeks, it's going to be grand opening.
Do you own the one on Broadway?
Which one?
The one right next to us?
We own only the one that on Sunset, and now we are doing our concept. It's a wood-burning oven, everything imported from Italy and everything. So
good deal.
Oh, that was remarkable.
And next one is going to be in Glendale.
Good.
I didn't want to ask, but I hope so. But, I mean, you couldn't have dreamed of a better opportunity to be, and then be on Ellen's show after that the next day.
Yeah.
I watched the YouTube this morning, or CNN or whatever it was, to see it again. But you look differently without the red vest and the hat on and everything. So, well, enjoy it while you can. You got a lot of new customers, so.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Laura says there's a bunch of people here.
Wait, okay. As Mr. Najarian reminded me, I better have Mr. Choa tell you something that I didn't realize.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. We do have on the agenda an item regarding the establishment of the Brockmont Park Historic District Overlay Zone. That item is having to be continued to date certain. I believe we have it as the 25th of March. As you know, it requires 4 votes to establish such a district pending council consideration. Mr. Quintero is gone, and Mrs. Friedman is actually conflicted out by her proximity to the district. So we could not consider it tonight. So our apologies, sir.
So if you're here for Brockmont, you can leave now and go have a nice dinner somewhere. Our extreme apologies. But it's just one of the things. If Ms. Friedman had moved, got out of the territory, she could go, but I don't think she wants to sell her house right now. So anybody here, you can leave. Okay, what is next, please?
Item 3B is proclamation designating the month of March 2014 as American Red Cross Month.
Okay, here comes the Red Cross. And now we're going to have another group being recognized for this month, too.
Hate to follow the pizza guy.
Yeah, that's quite a bit. Let me read you the proclamation again. Whereas March is America Red Cross Month, a special time to recognize and thank those who volunteer their time and service to help their neighbors when they are in need. And whereas American Red Cross heroes are on the front lines every day and volunteer their time, give blood, take life-saving courses, and provide financial donations to those in need. And whereas the City of Glendale would like to recognize those who work tirelessly providing round-the-clock support to members of the military, veterans and their families, teach life-saving CPR classes, aquatic safety, and first aid. And whereas across the country and all around the world, the American Red Cross has responded to hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, and wildfires. The tragedy of the Boston Marathon and Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines. They have also offered comfort and care to injured service members, donated blood to patients in hospitals, helped save the lives of drowning children and those suffering a heart attack. And whereas the month of March is dedicated to those who support the American Red Cross humanitarian mission to prevent and alleviate human sufferings in the face of emergencies, now therefore I, Dave Weaver, Mayor of the City of Glendale, proclaim March 2014 as American Red Cross Month and urge every citizen to recognize the importance of volunteering, taking a class, donating blood, or making a donation. Encourage all citizens to support this organization and its noble humanitarian mission. And don't speak until I have Ms. Friedman bring this proclamation down. I don't want to mess it up this time.
I'm just going to say that there are a lot of respected organizations in the world, but I can't think of any that's more respected and more well-known than the American Red Cross. It does so much good work, and we're so glad to have all of you here in Glendale. So I'm happy to present this to you. Doris?
Mayor Weaver and City Council members, we're honored to receive this proclamation. Tonight, some of you may know Doris Tweet. She is a member of our executive committee, longtime board member, kind of an honorary patron saint of the Red Cross. And also Stephanie Rodriguez, she's a board member with us as well. She is a representative of the youth group that is very active in Glendale, and she's also a sophomore at Glendale High School. So thank you very much. We wanted to just take a moment to recognize all the donors of blood services that help give us a blood supply that is safe and reliable, the volunteers that teach first aid and CPR, and also take a moment to say thank you to the city for the great partnership that we've had with the departments that we help train their water safety instructors to be lifeguards, with the fire department that works hand in hand with us in teaching CPR and lets us come out to the fires and help take care of the fire victims. Thank you again.
Thank you. Congratulations. Okay, what is next, please?
Next item on the agenda is City Council and staff comments.
Ms. Friedman.
Just wanted to mention a couple of the events I attended this last week. Just today, with Mr. Snani and Mr. Weaver, I attended the Arbor Day celebration at the Casa de Adobe that Glendale Beautiful hosts every year. And this is an opportunity for members of the public to buy trees that are planted around the city in honor of loved ones, organizations, themselves, whoever else they want to plant the tree in honor of. I think today there were around 80 trees presented, and it joins our wonderful urban forest that we have in Glendale. And I want to congratulate Glendale Beautiful and all of the people who purchased the trees and were awarded the trees. We have some today. The Weissmans are here, and I know that they planted a tree in honor of Pete Seeger, which was a new one, but very appreciated by the crowd, so thank you. Sunday night, I attended the Cancer Cure Network Foundation Oscar Night. This is a new organization that's a regional organization headed by Karen Bagdasarian, who many of you know, who's the wife of Dr. Boris Bagdasarian, who's one of our premier oncologists in Glendale. And this is an organization that raises money to give financial assistance to cancer patients. There's a lot of money that's given to research, but a lot less money that's given to women who are insured but underinsured and who have huge copays and sometimes face the choice of stopping treatment so that they don't bankrupt their family. And this is a foundation that helps support those women in their treatment. It's a wonderful organization. I urge you, if you have any inclination at all, to look them up and contribute or join them. They're doing great work. Last week I also attended the Glendale Chamber of Commerce hosted a water conference to better educate the business community and the community at large about issues surrounding our drought and California water supplies. We had a wonderful panel. Steve Zern participated, Jeff Keitlinger, who's the head of the Metropolitan Water District, and other people. And it was very interesting and very educational. And I believe that GTV6 is going to be airing the forum. There were wonderful questions from the crowd. It was a very large crowd, very well attended. So if you have any interest at all in water, which all of us in Southern California should, because we can't survive without it, and we don't have enough of it here, I urge you to look this up on Channel 6 and watch the forum. You'll learn a lot. Lastly, a bunch of us attended the Glendale Latino Association's awards. Some of our best citizens were awarded. one of my favorite people, Mercy Velasquez, who's a wonderful woman about town and somebody who always gives to the community. She was awarded Woman of the Year. And our own Scott Ochoa, city manager, was Man of the Year. And he gave a beautiful speech about his parents. I wish I could air it right now, but I'll spare you all. It was at least 20 minutes long. And so congratulations, Scott. And Glendale Aventis, I received, I believe, Organization of the Year. Congratulations to them. They really service this community very, very well. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Oh, and let me just say also that Mr. Snani and myself are going to be in Washington, D.C. next week for lobbying for the city, attending the National League of Cities Conference, and we will try to go and do our best to lobby for our region and for our city and to bring home the bacon, whatever bacon there might be in Washington, which I think there's not a lot right now. But we will do our best to make sure that Glendale is heard in Washington.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Najarian?
Thank you. I will also be in Washington this weekend. I didn't get the memo, though, that the Tuesday meeting was going to be canceled, so I had booked my flight early to be back here Tuesday in the afternoon to make the afternoon meetings. But anyway, that's the way it is. I'll be going with the MTA to work on legislative issues to try and bring some transportation projects to the city and to the region. Last Thursday at the MTA board, the motion to focus on the connection between the Gold Line in Pasadena and the Orange Line in the Valley passed, so the board will be looking at that closely. Also, with regard to transportation, I had a meeting with some of the engineers at Metrolink and the MTA, and we're trying to solve the Doran crossing issue. And one of the alternatives that came up that I think is very exciting and something that we should look into is to access that entire region near the LA River by building a bridge across the LA River from Doran Street across, connecting to the I-5 on-ramps and off-ramps. That will be, of course, entirely in the city of Los Angeles, so there won't be any LA permits or anything like that required. The cost is similar to what it would cost for an overpass flyover into the Glendale region. The advantages are, number one, those trucks and heavy equipment won't be rumbling through Glendale. They'll be exiting on the 5 and taking the bridge over. Secondly, we can also adapt that bridge to serve pedestrian access, bicycle access, and perhaps equestrian access across the river and connecting it to Griffith Park, essentially, with access from our Riverwalk Park. So it's a very interesting concept, still in the early stages. If that sort of public works project or infrastructure excites you, please let me know, because I'm selling this as a crowd pleaser to the Metrolink people. Sometimes they have to think outside the box. Of course, they'll be looking at the hydraulics of the LA River and everything that Mr. Weaver had done several years back to make sure that it doesn't upset the water flow or cause any problems. And lastly, I'm going to ask the city clerk, Mr. Kasakian, to present a matrix, if you can, indicating all the boards, commissions, and agencies that the City Council and the Housing Authority appoints individuals to. I'd like to know who holds those seats, when the appointments were made, and when the terms expire. And one more issue came up. If you could also include boards or commissions that the mayor himself has the authority to appoint to. I think there's a few of those out there as well. I think
I've never made one, so
well,
I'd like to know what I
yet.
No, I got a month to go. I'd like to know what I missed.
If you could present that as a matrix form or any way that makes sense, appreciate that. Thank you.
Other comments? I just had
just a quick comment,
Yeah,
Mr.
Mr.
Mayor.
Snani.
Thank you. Much to my regret, I missed the Glendale Latino Association's awards, the luncheon last week, and I say that specifically because some very deserving and good people and organizations were honored. City Manager Scott Ochoa, Marcy Velasquez, and Glendale Adventist. So I want to congratulate you in public, although I've done so in person. And again, I wish I'd been there, but because of work-related obligations that I had no control over, I couldn't make it. So congratulations once again.
Okay. Mr. Ochoa.
If I may, sir, just unless you were going to mention the rainstorms over the weekend?
Nope.
Just one quick thing, as I've contacted individual council members, certainly over the last several days we had 5 inches of rain dropped on Glendale over a 36-hour period. And while you saw many cities struggle with it, and certainly we had our share of trials and tribulations, but never overwhelming, and never at a point where we couldn't provide a very strong level of service, very high level of service, thanks to the folks at GWP, the folks in Public Works, Community Services, Parks, and the police and fire departments. We had any number of small little issues that were kept small little issues because of the good work of all of those employees, all of whom either stayed over and were held over working throughout the weekend or answered the call when they were called back. So certainly on behalf of the council and all of the executive staff, we just want to say thank you.
We got updates from you. Occasionally, staff was meeting every few hours. We're really ahead of the curve compared to other cities. So did good. Five inches of rain, a lot for this city.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, I would like
Mr.
to...
Okay, Mr. Kasakian.
I'd like to just inform the public that at the February 25th, 2014 meeting, this body adopted a resolution to put forth a charter amendment, Measure G, to be considered by the voters in June. The staff report related to that measure can be found on our website, glendalevotes.org. We would like to inform the public at this time of the following important information regarding the June 3rd, 2014 special municipal election. The public should be aware that the City Council has called for persons or associations desiring to write arguments against the adoption of the proposed charter amendment for the June 3rd, 2014 special election. The written request shall be submitted to the City Clerk no later than March 10th, 2014 at 5:30 p.m., and such arguments shall not exceed 300 words. This information is again also available on the website. The City Council will then consider the requests and appoint the appropriate association or person at the regularly scheduled council meeting of March 18th, 2014.
Thank you. Any other comments? Good. I have one brief one because I've been stopped by different people in the city asking me, so I'll tell you it's been done. Councilwoman Friedman wanted letters I received from Japanese mayors 7 months ago. I did furnish those to her, and I was asked why, and I said, I don't know, it's none of my business, but they are done, so anybody watching, don't ask me that question again, okay? Thank you. Now, what is next?
Next is a consent item including minutes following a routine and may be acted upon by one motion. Any member of council or the audience requesting separate consideration may do so by making a motion, such request before a motion is proposed.
Is there a motion?
Move the consent calendar.
Second. Roll call.
Council members Friedman.
Yes.
Najarian.
Yes.
Montero. Sinanian.
Yes.
Mayor Weaver.
Aye. Next, please.
Next item is oral communications. We have split the oral communications to two portions. The first portion is the 3-minute community event announcement portion, and we'll have the full 5-minute portion at the conclusion of all city business.
Okay, start with Dottie Sharkey, followed by Berlin Bessemeyer. Oh, you going to talk about the doghouse?
Maybe next time.
Next time, okay.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dottie Sharkey, president of the Glendale Parks and Open Space Foundation, and I'm here with 3 save the dates. So, but first, I'd like to briefly tell you about a few accomplishments we're particularly proud of. Our park restoration program, and that began after the station fire burned over 700 acres of Deukmejian Wilderness Park. So in 2013, our foundation paid for 2 program coordinators who recruit, guide, and train volunteers for a variety of park restoration events. And the response has been incredible. From church groups to community organizations, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, high school students, all pitched in, planting and watering new trees, removing invasive growth. In all, over 1,400 volunteer hours were donated to the restoration and maintenance of the Magian Wilderness Park and at the Glendale Narrows Riverwalk on the Los Angeles River. Our interpretive programs. They may teach us about owls or spiders or snakes by a campfire, or take us on a nature hike, and our most popular, the meteor shower night. Last year, these wonderful programs were enjoyed by 577 kids and adults. And coming soon, our Glendale Outdoor program. We call it GO, where 8 and 12-year-olds in the Pacific and Maple Park areas will have a morning of outdoor games, nature activities, and hikes. And now to our Save the Dates to help us pay for these programs. On May 4th, our 4th annual Verdugo Mountain 10K trail run and hike at Brand Park, where we estimate a turnout of 700 runners and hikers. It has become the largest single event trail run in Southern California. And registration is now open at www.runtheverdugos.com. Second is Friday night, May 30th, our 3rd annual Glendale Dodger Night at Dodger Stadium with fireworks after the game. And tickets will be on sale soon. And last, on July 23rd, will be the qualifier round for our Glendale City Golf Championship at Shoal Canyon Golf Course, with our finalist round on July 28th at the prestigious Oakmont Country Club. And this website is up and running at GlendaleGolfChampionship.com. So that's Trail Run, Dodger Night, Golf. I hope there's something for everyone. And these fundraisers will further benefit our parks and open space programs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Berlin by Bissemeyer, followed by Doris Tweet.
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, Rolinda Biesmeyer, and this is my 3rd and last presentation for a while, at least until the middle of April, in regards to the Glendale Youth Orchestra. And you know our concert is on March 9th, and I know some of you members will be out of town. But I'm encouraging you all to ask friends and family, neighbors to come to our concert on March 9th, Sunday, at 7 o'clock at the Alex Theater. And I am going to try to talk slower, but not at the cost of boredom. And so, okay. I wasn't sure if my,
it's just not
came
there
up.
It is.
So I just,
we got it now.
Okay. So, as I said in my last 2 meetings, that this promises to be a very spectacular concert. The Glendale Youth Orchestra, it's 25 years here in Glendale, and I have been on the board for 10 years as the recording secretary. And so we represent all of Glendale, and we just want people to come and see and hear these fantastic children. And so our orchestra members, they're ages 11 to 18, and they are at the top of their classes, because they participate in music. And so it's one of the big enlighteners. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and the GYO.org, it's called. The concert starts at 7 o'clock in the evening. It is $12 for regular patrons, and then $10 for seniors. Parking is the best parking anyway, is at the Orange Street parking structure, and that there's a validation for it where you only have to pay $1, which I said before, it's much cheaper than parking on the street, even though the city needs the money. And so, but we are, a primary presenting member of the Alex Theater, and so it's just one of the nicest places to present our concerts. We used to be at the Civic Auditorium years ago, and so now at the Alex, which makes it the center of town, which is easy to get to. So I would just encourage everybody to please, tell friends and neighbors about the concert and try to attend if you can. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. And now Doris Tweet.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, Mr. Ochoa, staff. My name is Doris Tweet, and I'm co-chair of the Glendale Mayor's Prayer Breakfast Committee. And I'm here tonight on behalf of the committee to invite all of you and everyone in the audience to the 51st Annual Glendale Mayor's Prayer Breakfast. It's going to be held a week from Thursday, March 13th at the Glendale Civic Auditorium. I hope you'll all be back from Washington by then. Our speaker this year is Charlene Tilton. You may remember her in her role as Lucy on Dallas. She will speak about her journey from foster care to all of her success in television. It's an interesting life that she has lived, and she's going to speak on the challenges and the triumphs over the years. By the way, someone asked me how old that picture is, and it's actually current. So she's a lovely woman, and I hope everyone can come to hear her. The doors open for breakfast at 6 a.m. Breakfast will be served at 6:30, and the program will begin promptly at 7. Deputy Chief Carl Povolitis will be our Master of Ceremonies this year, so I'm sure he's going to start it right on time. Tickets are $25 each. Parking is free. And the number to call to request tickets, if you can't see it on the screen, it's 818-370-0934, or you can also purchase tickets through www.glendalearts.org. Hope to see you all there.
Thank you. Okay, what is next, please?
Next on the agenda, under action items, 8A is Director of Community Development regarding the establishment of the Brockmont Park Historic District Overlay Zone. At 8A1 is an ordinance for introduction. As was mentioned by the City Manager, this has been moved to a date certain of March 25th, 2014. At 9, under hearings, at 9A is Director of Community Development regarding appeal of Design Review Board for property located at 3338 Deer Creek Lane. 9A1 is a motion sustaining the DRB's decision to deny the application. 9A2 is motion to continue the matter for 2 weeks in order to draft findings overturning the DRB's decision and approving the application.
Thank you. With that, Mr. Ochoa.
Yes, sir. We'll bring up our case planner, Rather Duong, and he will walk through the presentation that gives you an overview and then allow you to open the hearing and take testimony. Rather?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Weaver and members of the City Council. This item, as Mr. Ochoa stated, is an appeal to the City Council of the Design Review Board denial of case number PDR 1309178-B, located at 3338 Deer Creek Lane. The appellant and the property owner is Marina Avatisian. The proposal is to construct a new two-story single-family residence that is 3,525 square feet with an attached 3-car garage. The subject site is Zone R1R, Floor Area Ratio District 3, and it is 7,838 square feet. The subject property is located near the intersection of Oakmont View and Deer Creek Lane within the Oakmont View subdivision. And this is a small street that ends in a cul-de-sac. Here's an aerial photograph showing the surrounding area as well as the subject property. This is one of the last remaining vacant lots in this subdivision. The site plan shows a house that is centrally located on the site that meets the front setback, side setback, and the rear. The house is essentially a rectangular in plan view with a yard that will be filled in the rear to create a usable open space. The next several slides will show 3 versions of the project on all 4 elevations. This project went through the design review board 3 times. This slide shows the front elevation. The one on the left-hand side is the first design that went to the design review board. The top right-hand drawing is the second version, and the bottom drawing is the third version. Here's the east elevation, which is the rear elevation. The house is designed in the classical style and will feature high-quality material, including limestone, precast cornices, and balustrade, as well as dentil along the eave. Here's the north elevation, which is the side elevation, and the south elevation. This slide shows a section through the house from front to rear. The reason why these sections are included is because one of the conditions that was imposed by the design review board was for the project to lower the floor to ceiling height on the ground floor from 11 feet to 10 feet. So the applicant reduced this height to only 10 feet 6 inches. As I stated earlier, 3 design review meetings were conducted. The first meeting was on March 7, 2013, which the board voted for the project to be returned for redesign with conditions. The second meeting took place on September 12, 2013. Again, the design review board requested that the project come back for redesign with condition. And the last meeting took place on November 14, 2013, which the project was denied by the board. The denial was due to the fact that the applicant did not address all of the conditions that were imposed by the previous meetings. These are some of the conditions that were not met. During the first meeting, there were 7 conditions that were imposed, and during the second meetings, there were 8 conditions that were imposed. These were the conditions that the project did not address. For example, number 1, lower the floor to ceiling height from 11 feet to 10 feet. 2, depress the building and garage and that follow the topography of the lot. And at the second meeting, the same condition essentially were reworded, but the goal was to achieve the same standards for this project to meet. Here's a photo that is shown from the street with a story or temporary pole, temporary framing shown with both the adjoining neighbors on the sides. These are photos of the subject site. As you can tell, particularly on the top right-hand photo, the site has a gentle slope from the front to the rear, and the overall average current slope is about 12.6%. Here are a couple of street view photos that shows the character of Deer Creek Lane. I stood where the red circle is, looking south on Deer Creek Lane. The subject property on the east side of Deer Creek Lane, which is the bottom photo, and the top photo shows properties on the west side of Deer Creek Lane, which is on the upslope. The east side of Deer Creek is on the downslope, and the subject property is highlighted. And also worth mentioning is that the street slopes up as one travels down in the south direction on Deer Creek. Here are examples of some homes that are on the same side of the street as the subject property, which is the east side, where generally the driveway slopes down. And these are homes on the west side of Deer Creek Lane, where the driveway generally slopes up. And also, you notice the homes on the west side generally are expressed in a 2-story volume, while the homes on the east side are generally expressed in a 1-story volume, or 1.5. Oh,
Do you have a photo?
Missing a
Do you
slide.
have anything that shows the height difference between this property and the ones to each side of it? Because none of those photos showed that at all.
No, they don't have.
They really didn't.
But you didn't. Do you even know the difference, the height difference between the houses on the right and the left and the subject property?
yes, there is a difference
Can
between
you
the
tell us
homes.
what that is?
I'm not sure what the height difference is. I tried looking for plans for those homes just to make comparisons, but they do not exist. We do not have files for those homes for some reason.
And you couldn't photograph. I mean, I was there, and there's a significant difference in height between the houses on each side and the story poles. But you don't know.
I don't know the exact
I mean, it looked
numerical.
like it could be as much as 8 feet on one side.
It possibly could be.
But we don't know.
Yes. Seems like I'm missing some slides. Okay, well, we'll just have to improvise. There were a number of items that the appellant stated as the basis of the appeal. The first point that the appellant made was that the DRB failed to act within its review authority. The second point was that the DRB denied the project based on pressure from neighbors and because of emotions. Third, that the design review board did not consider all facts, and the design review board conditions were contradictory, and lowering the height will not result in an improved building volume. And lastly, the project meets zoning code and should not be subject to the restriction of the expired CC&R. So in terms of staff response, the DRB is tasked in determining the level of compatibility within the neighborhood, and that the design review board and neighbors shared a common concern in regards to overall height of the project. And lowering the height, the floor-to-ceiling height, and depressing the building and garage are not contradictory conditions as demonstrated by homes on the same side of the street. And the condition to lower the height was not due to expired CC&R, but because of measure of compatibility among the homes on that side of the street. And also worth noting is that there were no objections to the style or the size of this project. It was only to the height of the overall of the project. And with that, staff recommends that the City Council uphold the design review denials. However, there are two alternatives. One is to approve the project as proposed, and two is to approve the project with conditions. Thank you, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions at this time? Mr. Najarian?
So just so I'm clear, there is the one condition, two conditions have not been met.
Correct.
Okay, one of them was lowering the first...
The floor-to-ceiling height from 11 feet to 10 feet, and also to depress the building and the garage in a sensitive manner that follows the topography of the lot, and similar to other homes on the same side of the street.
And did I see that they came within 6 inches of that? They came to 10 foot 6 inches at the second try? So we're here because of 6 inches? Is that one of the...
Well,
that, because of two reasons.
Yes, exactly.
One of them is a 6-inch difference.
And also the design review board felt that the combinations of these conditions would help lower the height, the overall height of the building to be more consistent with its neighbor. So it's not just one or the other.
So they want to
correct.
They want to lower it as you go into the lot as well.
Into the garage, yes.
To the garage. Okay.
Other comments right now?
Question and a comment. So if I understand correctly, one of the conditions was partially addressed, the second condition wasn't. So depressing the building means actually digging into this, just getting a lower baseline? Is that what it means?
Well, depressing the building would obviously create a lower building, and also would entail possibly building retaining walls on the side of the driveway, such as the immediate home to the south of the subject site. But overall, if one is to design a project that way, and in concert with the other condition, that wouldn't definitely help reduce the overall height of the house.
Okay. And my second question is, I understand that this building may be out of proportion from its immediately adjacent two buildings to its left and to the right. But is it also out of proportion, so larger or taller than all the other buildings on the same side of the street? Or the average size? I mean, you know what I mean. So,
I can say that the building as proposed is taller along the front elevation than most of the homes on the same side of the street. However, because the lots on the east side of Deer Creek slopes downward, the height of the building at the rear is higher than what is expressed along the front elevation.
Okay, but I understand. So we're concerned with the front, right? With the front of the building, more so than the rear.
Correct. In this case, we're concerned with the front end, and that concern is shared by the design review board because of the impact and the inconsistency and compatibility issue among these homes.
Okay.
However, I like to note that the project meets the zoning code, but again, the design review board has the authority and within their purview to make sure that the level of compatibility is achieved among all the homes in this neighborhood.
Just one more question. When you said it's higher than most of the buildings, when you say most, what do you mean by that? I mean, what proportions are we talking about? Is it like 1 out of 3 or?
Well, if I may, I will go back to.
Was providing those heights for all the houses not required? Was that one of the conditions at one point?
That was a request by the design
It was a
review
request
board.
that wasn't fulfilled, right, by the applicant?
Correct.
Not fulfilled,
Uh-huh.
yes.
Say that again. So what is it that wasn't fulfilled?
The applicant was supposed to provide a montage along there showing the relative heights of all the homes, and they didn't do that.
On the same side of Deer Creek, there's only one home, which is closer to the cul-de-sac, that is comparable to the height of the proposed home.
Okay, just one home.
But the driveway is still lower than the grade along the street. That project still has a depressed driveway.
Okay. So this building on the front side would be the tallest building on that side of the street, in effect. Is that?
It may be. That is probably a fair assumption. Yeah.
Because we don't have the actual heights of the other buildings along, we're kind of operating on the appearance and based on the story poles, and it does appear it would be the highest on that side of the street.
And that's something that was specifically required of the applicant, and they just didn't do it?
Yeah, the board was hoping by pushing the house down into the hillside a little bit, it would bring down some of that height and make it a little more comparable to the other houses.
Okay, there's no more questions at this time. I'll open the public hearing, and process is to allow the applicant the first shot at us. As Sergey Soroyan, you stated you need 15 minutes. Do you want that for you, and I assume Marco Brambilla, within the 15, both of you, or?
Mr. Mayor, yeah, I'll take 15 minutes.
You'll take 15 minutes alone. Then, Marco, you're going to need 5 minutes? 3 minutes, okay. Start the clock, 15 minutes, sir.
Mr. Mayor and member of the City Council, before I proceed, I have some pictures here and the layouts, so I could show it to you before I proceed, so you guys have a better idea as to
Back a little. There.
as to what's going on.
Provide those to the city clerk, if they're for us. Okay, now start the clock.
Mr. Mayor and members of City Council, I really thank you for having us here today. It's been a long time coming. I really tried my way to get into this situation. I could speak to you a while back, but I had to go through a process, and I have, and I really thank you for having us here today, me and my family. My name is Sergey Soroyan, and I'm the son of a property owner who is trying to fulfill her lifelong dreams of building the house of her dreams. and it's been a long time and excruciating process in getting the project approved. And as the owners of our property, we have endured a very endearing task with a few issues that have delayed this project for over 2 years. The Deer Creek project has gone through all the necessary steps that come forth with this type of project in order to get approved. We went through a routine stage of obtaining conditional use permit, and we received that permit 2 years ago. We have been diligent and kind in our efforts to have our neighbors agree with our project by having them sign over 15 petitions forms that are in support of this project. The only neighbor that didn't sign this petition form is the only one reason why we are here today, because of his personal bias and agenda towards this project. We had the pleasure of going to Design Review Board for the first time 2 years ago, and that process has continued over 3 times during 2 year span. Let me be very loud and clear, committee, Mr. Mayor, about this issue. DRB has made some minor suggestions at the first DRB, and we complied with them without any hesitations, such as lowering the windows, adjusting such as changing the windows, adjusting garage door, and things of that nature. DRB liked this house both structurally and architecturally, and stipulated it on many occasions. The problem that both DRB and us as owners didn't agree on is on the height of a house that came of the urging of one emotional and disgruntled neighbor who desperately sought negative recruitment against me and my family in a harassing manner by trying to get neighbors go against us. This is not the type of welcome that I have expected to receive in being accepted in a neighborhood. That's very unfortunate. Both DRB and us reached a point of no return after my second DRB. I made it perfectly clear that there is no viable argument to lower the height of my house. Hence, this project was not approved by DRB. I sought help and guidance, and I wanted to appeal to City Council right there and then. I spoke to city officials, and I was clearly told that for me to have a right to go to City Council, that I would need to go to my third DRB. I was puzzled by that because the only problem was holding the project back from being approved is the height of a house. That issue is not going to be compromised by any means of my imagination. However, the only choice I had to come in here today was to go to third DRB, and that's what we did. At third DRB, the committee again stipulated that the house is very sound from architect and design point of view, and even stated, quote unquote, it's one of the best house designs in the entire neighborhood. The only issue that we talked about was the height of a house. I reiterated my stance that the height will not be lowered, so that's my right to have a house to have at such height based on the rules and regulations of the City of Glendale and zoning guidelines. At the conclusion of a third DRB hearing, I was told one last time by a DRB member that if I lower the height of a house, then the house will be approved. I refused it again, and hence I came here today to have you, the City Council, and Mr. Mayor, to see the difficulties I have faced as a citizen of Glendale by following all the rules and regulations. I refuse to believe that in such a great community and such a great country where we live in, that one citizen can be so oppressed for following rules and regulations as I have felt that I have endured throughout this process. This project meets all the guidelines and codes as stipulated by zoning codes of the City of Glendale. We have the smallest house on the block, and you can see by those layouts that I gave it to you over there. And due to the new rules and regulations, guys, we're not permitted to make it bigger or higher. It was mentioned that topography of a house is not matched to the rest of the house. Of course it's not going to be matched. Most houses occupy 80% of a lot. We occupy about 35%, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have the number in front of me right now. It will not match the topography of the thing of a neighborhood. We have much bigger houses, but basically some of them don't even have backyards and no landscaping, which we do. Neighbor on a few occasions has mentioned that old and expired CCNR stipulated that the houses were allowed to be smaller height-wise. Yet the same neighbor doesn't underline or take into account that under old CCNR, where houses were allowed to use over 80% of a property lot size. All the houses that were built under old CCNR rules are much bigger and grander than my house, but rules are rules. And if I had a right to make a house of that size, then I would. But as stipulated by current law, I cannot. The current law allows us only to build a much smaller house than under old CCNR, with a certain height that is proposed on this project. Neighbor has suggested this CCNR issue on many issues and tries to put me in the corner by forcing the issue that I use selective laws, which I underline, selective laws from CCNR, such as the height of a house, and use current rules and regulations of square footage of a house so it will be served best to his advantage. This is absurd to me to have sit here and choose the worst of both worlds in order to appease a neighbor that is so spoiled by this uninhabited area that he clearly thinks he has an authority over it for some ridiculous reason. This harassment needs to stop, and that's why I'm here today fighting for my constitutional rights, the citizen of Glendale, to limit this harassment from my neighbor. I have seen various other projects and have consulted with many other people from City of Glendale. And I have been told that this sort of harassment that you're suffering at the hands of a neighbor can be dealt with in a professional and legal manner. This neighbor is so spoiled by this unobstructed view that has been right there before him for over 2 decades that he feels he has some kind of authority over my property, which I find it very insulting. It's common knowledge and a stated fact that there is no view ordinance in the City of Glendale. I mentioned that before, and I'm clearly mentioning this statement now. As a matter of fact, before I proceed, there was another house that I was really interested in purchasing for the future of my kids. It was by Rimcrest area. This happened about a month and a half ago. I saw the house. It was a great potential, it had a great view. But there was a house right before me, right in front of me. And I thought about it. If the guy in front of me builds a house over there, then I'll lose my view size because there's no view ordinance in the City of Glendale. So I chose not to get into that situation. I respected my neighbor over there in that situation because I know there's no way of fighting that situation since there is no view ordinance in the City of Glendale. I mentioned that before. I'm clearly mentioning this statement now about the view ordinance. The city official that I spoke to had clearly reiterated what I have stated before and earlier. But even if a house is hypothetically lowered, it will still be blocking the view of a neighbor regardless. The whole point of a neighbor is to delay this project as much as he can so that I will test my patience. But I will not give in, and I will fight for my right, and that is what is entitled to me as a great citizen of Glendale. We bought this property in 1998 with one purpose, and the purpose is to build the house of our dreams. We wanted a view site, and we paid more for a view site in order to build a house there accordingly. My neighbor valued the place that he purchased right across the street from the view site, right behind my residence. He valued the house more at that time than I valued my property then, and hence he chose that location. He knew that the house will be built right across him that will limit his view, and he bought it with that presumption. It was his right, and he exercised that right. My right is to build a house on my property according to all the rules and codes of City of Glendale and its zoning. This property complies with all the rules and codes of zoning as is stipulated by City of Glendale. And I hope you, Mr. Mayor, and the committee will realize what I have endured throughout this unique ordeal and see that you have to honor a citizen for following rules and regulation rather than having to go through such a harassment that I have endured at the hands of my neighbor. Members of City Council, I thank you for your valued time and patience in looking over my project. I have come here along the way to get a decision by you in regards to this matter. DRB and this project have reached a dead end which feels like a point of no return. The project has no architectural and design issues whatsoever. And as I have stated earlier, the DRB committee liked the project and staff supported the project. The debate that was ongoing at DRB is the height of a house, even though it is compliant with all the codes and regulations of city zoning of City Glendale. Therefore, DRB and I could not come to a mutual decision because I believe I deserve to what I'm entitled, especially in a city that has no view ordinance. Members of the City Council, I came here and I present a decision to you in order to obtain a fair decision, which I have been waiting for so many years. I'm waiting for this final decision to come today from you. You're the only ones that can come with this decision, and I'll welcome the decision today to use your constitutional power as selected official of the City of Glendale to uphold all the codes and regulations and follow the guidelines that you so proudly exercise on a daily basis to govern this beautiful city. You're my last stop after 2 exhausting years, and I welcome your decision today in regards to this project, since this is my last stop in order to obtain this approval that I have so dearly been seeking. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, members of the City Council. God bless you.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Marco Bambila. These are 3-minute ones now. Followed by Kathy Wong.
Clicking now. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, staff, my name is Marco Brambilla, and I'm here actually more as a resource to you. The applicant made his case. What I would like to put the project in perspective is the following. Of course it is not about 6 inches. I mean, that would be ridiculous to assume. And of course it's not even about reducing the driveway issue, because in 18 feet of a front setback, you can reduce it maybe by another 6 inches. That is not the issue. The issue is actually a controversy that is resulting from the fact that the entire neighborhood was developed under the now defunct CCNRs, under certain rules and regulations that people could cover their property, 80–90% of the property. But on the downside of the hill, they were, lower. On the upside, they were much higher. Now, today, this project has to comply with today's codes and regulations, and that's what it's about. In reality, having said so in the entire discussions with the Design Review Board, in the first phase they made very professional comments that we addressed, and they were very happy apparently with that, because they never came back on that. And the second issue was about the height, and the height is a neighborhood issue. It's a relation with the other people there. But as far as the project itself is concerned, this is certainly complying with everything, and by reducing 6 more inches or 8 more inches or a foot or a foot and a half, that would not really materially alter the project. On the other hand, reducing the project by, 6 or 7 feet, that would de facto mean you cannot build the project, because there is physically not the space to build, there is certainly not the height to build. And with that in mind, I hope I haven't abused the 3 minutes that you allowed me. I'm here in the room, certainly available to you.
Ms. Friedman.
Hi.
Yes, Councilman.
I'm just a little confused, because they're not asking you to reduce it 6 feet, right? They're asking you to reduce it
No, the magical number that I sort of was floating around, this is not a given number, but this was sort of a suggested number, was about 2 feet.
Well, right. It's 1 foot on each story. I think that was the condition.
6 inches, another story, maybe another 6 inches.
So what's the problem if
the following.
I know that the applicant wants what he wants, but from your perspective.
Besides the point that whatever is permitted is permitted, is the following. In the 18 inches in the parking to be reduced, there is so much you can reduce it, number one. Secondly, the staff made the Design Review Board made verbatim the following comment. Depress the house by whatever you can, 6 inches, 8 inches a foot, without giving the impression of a depressed house. So, in fact, when you were looking at some of the pictures presented by the staff, you saw like some of the houses look subterranean. The entry door of this particular house is, I think, 4 inches above grade, basically allowing for water to drain away. That's pretty much that what it is. And the applicant felt very strongly that by reducing by 2 feet, materially it doesn't change. Yes, I can reduce it 6 inches in the first floor, although it's not desirable, that can happen. But materially, on the main elevation, it would really not make any dent in the overall picture once it's done.
So you actually could comply with the Design Review Boards.
I could comply with the 6 inches. I could comply. The magical number was never mentioned. But if there is a magical number, some place between 6 inches and the 2 foot, theoretically, practically it is possible.
Okay, because in our staff report, there is a number, which is...
I haven't seen that.
We just saw it, right? It's a foot for each ceiling height. Is that correct, Mr. Hagani?
Councilwoman Friedman, the design review board asked for the floor-to-ceiling height of the ground floor to be reduced from 11 feet to 10 feet.
So we're talking 1 foot.
1 foot.
6 inches, actually. Today, it is, as presented, it is 10 foot 6 inches.
Well, the condition that I saw is 1 foot.
Correct. But the applicant chose to only reduce it by 6 inches.
Okay, so basically, if the applicant had reduced it another 6 inches, it would have passed because it would have met the condition?
Well,
plus lowering the house
correct.
as well.
It's not just one or the other.
Right, I understand there's both. So I'm trying to suss this out because we just heard 6 feet thrown out, but they're not talking 6 feet. They're talking reduce the driveway. Do they have an idea of the amount of reduction they would like, or did they just say kind of make it like the other houses?
The intent was to make it so that it's comparable to the other
houses,
yes.
And then the 1 foot reduction in the first floor.
Yes, and because they felt that would help the applicant achieve the sensibilities that is expressed by the other homes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Marco.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marco.
Okay, Kathy Wong, 3-minute appeal, followed by Joe Ivesey.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and staff. My name is Kathy Wong. I lived 3323 Deer Creek Lane, which is diagonally across from the property there.
The uphill side, right? The uphill side?
I'm the hillside, yeah. I do not expect the entire view, but I do expect when other houses are 18 feet up, this house is 24 feet tall. So it just blocked off the whole mountain there. But that's not the only issue because I felt that it is not comparable with the other houses. It's too high and it's awkward. And when we built the house about 24 years ago, and we followed the height restriction, we have review board to approve it, and I think all of the houses have gone through all that. And I think the review board has done a very great job because all the houses on Deer Creek Lane is beautiful. They're comparable in height. They're not awkward or too strange. So, I think for this project, the review board has returned not once, not twice, but 3 times. So I think the property owner should think, because if you look at that house there, that's 18 feet. If you look at the stick, it's like 10 feet taller. So they need to suppress. They need to dig deeper in order for the house to go lower. And even that house is higher next to this side. If you look at the stick, it's like 6 or 7 feet too high. So I'm here. I've been attending all the review board meeting, and this is the 4th time. And I really hope that you do not approve this plan because it would just kind of ruin the. It's not comparable with all the other houses in the street. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Ivesey, followed by David Artunian.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I think this is the first time I've been in front of City Council in 60 years, living in Glendale, to complain about what's happening. I'm going to try to simplify it so everybody can understand. All the houses on the street, the side of the street that they want to build a new house, they've dug down a little bit and come up. They go down, just do what all the houses are on that street, that side of the street. There'll be no problem on the height. Either that or lower the height a little bit, and the neighbors will have no complaint. They said something about the requirements of height and what is changed than it was before. When Genji and John Gregg were developing that property, the City Council asked them to provide a map so how high the buildings are going to be, because they didn't want to have castles built in there. And they provided. I understand that thing has expired, maybe a year, but that doesn't mean anything, but the neighborhood has not expired. Only one house to be built. Why can't they go along and either go down a little bit, and have a larger rooms, or just reduce the height to what it is in the neighborhood? Neighbors do not want somebody to build a house in there and change the looks of the neighborhood. There's no reason for it. I don't know what, they've been in front of Design Review Board. Design Review Board members are appointed by city council members. These people are knowledgeable. Some of them are really professional. They know what they're doing. They asked him, say, please comply with the neighborhood. That's all. The rest of it is okay. Go ahead and do it. And from what I hear, the last time I wasn't there, he told them, said, I don't care what you want. I'm not going to change. I'm going to build exactly what I want to build. There's nothing you can do about it. That makes no sense to me, sir. So please consider, keep the neighborhood the way it is. Don't change it. And they can go down a little bit. And the architect knows he can go down there. I've known an architect for 30 some odd years. He's done some work for me. All he has to do is go down just a few feet. That's it. Or just reduce the height. And the neighbors will be thrilled. That's it. Thank you very much for your time. And I hope you will consider what I'm suggesting. Thanks. My name is Joe Ivesey. And I used to own the Good House. I put up with the design review, for many years, every time something was approved, and they would come and complain. It went on, and now finally I sold it to the city. I did not make a penny. I lost all the years. I'm sorry I've mentioned that, but please consider, these people have to comply. I know I took too much time to comply, but it is only a few inches.
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker and the last one is David Hartunian.
Mayor, Council, David Hartunian. I actually took some pictures of the recent elevations. They're different from that because they have banners on them now. If you want, you can look.
Just give them the city clerk.
I also included a petition by all the homeowners in the immediate area that had signed a letter to the DRB stating that they are opposing the height of the property. I just want to start off by saying it's not a personal attack on the applicant. We really have never come out and personally said anything to him. We've always raised the conformity issue and just tried to say, hey, can we just have a house here that conforms to the right and left properties, which you'll see in the pictures. But basically, when we went to DRB the first time, just to summarize the history here, when we went to DRB the first time, the applicant had put in for this kind of a property, which was denied with conditions. Now, the second time he came back, his plan called for even a higher height on the home. So not only did he not meet the conditions, he exceeded the original height, which was asked to be lowered. So now we went to the third meeting, and there was nothing we can resolve. So DRB denied the application. So here we are, and the conformity issue, as you can see from the pictures, is kind of out of control. It's not like we're telling the guy to not build a house. We don't want to be bad neighbors in the area. You basically want to say, hey, can you just have your height limit as even the other home as possible? In fact, there was a neighbor that was on top of the hillside that walked down to the street and said, what's going on here? We said, this is the new proposed height limit on the house. He said, you know what? From up there, I could tell that it's way bigger, and it's like blocking everything. It's like almost like an eyesore. So, again, we're here just to make sure that it's addressed, the facts addressed, that we want to lower the height, and there's nothing personal about it. It's just a conformity issue, basically. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Okay, would the applicant like to do any rebuttal for a minute or two? Your choice. You don't have to dig your hole.
Mr. Mayor and City Council, I mean, I welcome your suggestions and your input into this whole situation, but I mean, I kind of find, like I told you, I don't feel welcome in the neighborhood at all. And based on what I'm hearing from my neighbors, and they have their house are about 4,500 square feet, and here we are, we're judging my house, potential house. We're talking about how it's inappropriate and things of that nature. But then again, they don't work for zoning. They don't work for City of Glendale. They don't work for the departments that create these rules and regulations. When we decided to design this house, my architect opened the book. I mean, he knows the rules and regulations. He says, this is what you're allowed. I'm like, if I'm allowed this, I mean, that's what I want. I mean, my house is the smallest house. I repeat again, my house is the smallest house on the block as it is. I mean, we have, compared to everybody else, our lot size basically are equal. Mine may be a little bigger. But because the codes change rules, you don't see me running back and say, oh my God, really, CCNR, let me get the CCNR back so I could build a house of that height with bigger square footage. I mean, I don't. I see the rules, I see the regulations, and I'm just trying to think, all I'm doing is following the rules and regulations. Now, the whole situation based on this is, these people are so used to this uninhabited area. It's been there over 98 we bought that property, and it hasn't been inhabited before that either. I mean, they're going to complain regardless about this situation. Let me be really upfront with you. Mr. Joe Ivazi and Cedric Ivazi are brothers. Mr. Joe Ivazi doesn't live there. It's Cedric Ivazi's house, his brother over there. And the neighbor next to him is the only one, but nobody else came here. Not one neighbor came to DRB outside of this whole situation to say, oh, why are you building a house like that? Nobody else came. It's an uninhabited property over there. We're so used to it, unobstructed view, and that's it. And and the DRB couldn't help me, and I came here to ask for your help. I mean, I have family, I have kids, and I want my kids to enjoy this too. As a matter of fact, I didn't even expect my son to be here today. He came himself because he's desperately waiting for me to build this house. And I am going to build this house. I'm going to fight tooth and nail. I mean, this is my family pride. I mean, I fought hard. I paid my taxes for this property. And I love that property. I love the area. And if I'm entitled to this property, I'll never complain about my neighbor. Hey, he has a bigger house than me. 5,000 square feet. God bless him. Let him cherish it. They were allowed to do it at that time, Mr. Mayor. And if I was at that time too, I would try to build a house 5,000 square feet too, if I was allowed at that time. I would, Mr. Mayor. But I'm not allowed to. And I respect this code. I respect this city. I've been part of this city. I work in a great profession. I was always proactive in the city, and I'll always stay proactive in the city because I love this city, and this is my residence. And once again, I refuse to lower the house. And DRB didn't see it this way. I'm just asking to follow your codes and zonings and regulations. That's the reason why I'm here. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Sinanian.
Yes, Mr. Saran, can I ask you a question? So, is the representation that's being made that all you have to do is dig a couple of more feet into the ground, basically anchor the building more into the ground, and that'll resolve the problem? Is that your understanding of?
Councilman Sinanian, I mean, I see what we're trying to suggest, but from day one I got this property, I always disliked and was suppressed looks of a house. I did. As a matter of fact, I mean, every time I see a house like that, I mean, I think of a place other people in my country that has a house like that too, and it always has this oppressive feeling to me, to go down over there like that. So that's not, I never considered that, nor, with all due respect, I don't consider that. I want it to be on a flat land, this and this. And I spoke to other city members, city councils. I have private issues, personal issues about this whole matter too. I cannot disclose them here right now in regards to my family, and I would not consider lowering the house. I would not consider lowering the house. That's a private matter between me and some city official members, and it's going to stay as a private matter. I hope you respect that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing. I don't know if it's out of turn for me, but I spent a number of hours, many hours, reviewing this. If you'd like to hear my comments first, it might help on elevations and stuff. It's up to you. I'll wait till last if you don't want to hear.
It's up to you.
To you. You got the hammer.
Okay, well then let me go first. First off, let me clear up. I heard a rumor You know what rumors can do to you. That the applicant has talked to some of my colleagues on the council. I just want you to know I've talked to nobody. I don't know the applicant until I see him here tonight. So clear conscience on that. I did watch the final design review board meeting where the design review board asked for the house to be lowered a foot, and the applicant says, no, go ahead and deny me so I can take it to the council. And of course, I, as a council member, when I appoint members to the design review board, I'm putting them there because they're the professionals in architecture, landscape planning, etc. I look at council up here, 2 attorneys, Lord Friedman has a business, I'm an engineer. What the heck do any of us know about architecture? Nothing. But that's not the situation here tonight. So what I did is I looked and asked a lot of questions. Deer Creek Lane is going north on about a 2% slope going down. It is going down to the back lot at about a 12.5% gradient. The only thing that is causing a problem is the placement of the house on the lot. And the design review board has full discretion in the placement of the house on the lot. It can meet total code, but the directions that previous councils have made is to give the discretion to a design review board to look at compatibility in the neighborhood and the placement of that house on the lot. So I didn't look at the building per se. I looked at it. There's 2 patios in the back stepping down. Water feature on the wall in the back. If you enter the house, you have a clear shot straight out the back door, so you have a beautiful view straight out. But I tried to look at, and I talked to staff, and I looked at maps, etc., trying to figure out how the house was placed on the lot. Now, from what I can understand, or the calculations I looked at, the southwest corner, the highest point on the lot, was used as ground zero. The first floor elevation is determined from that point. However, you have a 2% gradient going north. So the other end, the northern west corner of the lot is about 1.5 feet deeper. So you started with the highest point on the lot, not the lowest. Gives you an artificial starting point. In addition, I checked with the building and safety and found out that in the 18 feet, the code would permit a driveway dropping off Deer Creek that could slope down as much as 2 feet. Since the garage is going to be at the north end of the lot, taking the 2 feet plus the gradient drop on the street, that's about 3.5 feet lower for starters. So if the first floor had been started at that elevation, the problem in essence is cured. Dropping it in the back, yes, would help the situation. I looked at a photo of the 2, and I know the photo is showing me, though you don't looking at the picture, it looks like it's flat, but it isn't. Laying it out right now, the house to the right, looking at the lot, looking out the window to the house on the south, there's a drop. The second floor of the house on the right is in essence looking at the roof line of the house on the other side. So this house should fit somewhere in between there to be compatible. But it's been set, I think, artificially 3 feet high. You could lower the 11 down, that would mean the back side of the house wouldn't be as high up when it gets out there. The way it is now, it's 3.5 feet higher, and then at the back being 11 feet, it's even more prominent. So if you're down 3.5 feet and you drop 6 inches a foot, that would do even more. But the whole thing was about the placement on the lot, which I think a decision was made to use the zero basis, the starting point, the highest point on the lot at the corner of the lot bordering on Deer Creek Lane. I also understand why the houses on the uphill side are higher and the ones on the lower side are set down. Been through this many times over my 17 years here. I know the development of Oakmont 3 and 4. I know him. And I talked to him. He, in essence, built some of the houses there, and I ran by my logic on him. And he says I was exactly correct. The ones on the hill upside were built so that the second story had a view over the top elevation on the downhill side, which has a view to begin with. So it was the project when built was built under those conditions. The CC&Rs that are in question were not imposed by the city. They were imposed by the developer himself to create this very fact. High up here on the hillside, lower on this side, so both had a view. Now CCRs are gone, but the bottom line is, and I talked to him, he says it should be depressed. That's what he designed for. That's the way he constructed the situation, or constructed the lots. And every other house there is depressed on that side. And the other side, they're higher. So it's simply the placement of the first floor on the pad. And it just happens to be started at the highest elevation on that pad. So, with all due respect, design review with good people on it have the authority to look at compatibility and how a house is put on a lot. Every house is different, but on this one, the whole street was one design, and I think the other streets on Oakmont 3 and 4 were all designed the same way, with that intent. So even though the CC&Rs are gone, there's different criteria. I think the gentleman should have his house, but he ought to take it down using the criteria that I talked about. And so right now, I apologize I have to do, but I can't support the project, and I'll have to vote to sustain the Design Review Board in this. And I hope that he will consider lowering it. Maybe we can give relief on fees and stuff, or resubmittal and stuff. I don't know how that works. But I know he doesn't want to lower, but if he does, can we give relief? He's still going to have a beautiful view from that side. So with that, that's where I stand. Mr. Friedman.
First, for the record, I haven't talked to anybody. I haven't met with the applicant. I haven't talked to the neighbors about this. Nobody's contacted me. Let me say first, or second, that it's always a sad situation when neighbors fight over these kinds of projects. And we do see it over and over again. The applicant's clearly very angry. I understand that. It's unfortunate. You're going to have to live there. I hope that you and your neighbors can find a way to move on and get over it and invite each other to picnics and get along, because you could be living together for an awfully long time. The applicant needs to understand that generally these things are not personal. It's really that you have neighbors who feel that their value of their property is being compromised. They love their neighborhood, they love their block, and they don't want something to come in that they feel hurts their block, and that's why they're doing this, I imagine. Not because they hate you or because they want a dirt lot there forever. Sometimes that happens, but I don't get the sense that that's what's happening here. So I do hope that whatever happens tonight, you can all move on and be happy. Now, I visited the site, and I hope that all of my council members did, because this is one of those projects where you really need to see the site. It's very important. I could see the story poles from down the block. Now, granted, there is a slight upslope, but you generally don't see the roofs as you drive up. But these story poles really tower over the whole block. It is significantly taller than the other houses. It's even taller than the houses on the upslope side. And that's saying something. It's not a view issue. It shouldn't be a view issue. We don't have a view ordinance, but we do have a compatibility ordinance. And sometimes that's hard for people to understand because they say, I've complied with all the zoning rules. Why can't I have exactly what I want? But that's not the way the City of Glendale works. The Design Review Board does have the authority primarily to ensure compatibility, and they are allowed to trump zoning to do that. Now, this isn't one of those cases where they're taking away your square footage or living space. I know the other houses are larger. If I had been around then, I wouldn't have allowed them to build to the property lines, almost to the property lines as they do in that neighborhood. I think that the neighborhood's overbuilt. But that's the way it is. It's there. So they're not asking you to make your house smaller. You're still having a very large house, but they are asking you to make it more within the height of what the rest of the block is, and I don't think that's unreasonable. And in fact, I think you got off easy with a foot and then reducing the driveway, whatever you're going to be reducing it. To my eye, and we don't have measurements, and we really should know, but it looked like you're 10 feet taller at least than the house on the left, and maybe 5 feet taller than the house on the right, which is an upslope house. I am surprised they didn't say go down 7 feet, as Marco mentioned. You wouldn't want to do that. I really am. I'm surprised because I've seen them make those kinds of decisions in the past. I think they were really trying to split the baby here and bring it down a little bit, but still let you be taller. Even with that foot or two, you're still going to be the tallest house on that side of the block. You still are. So I don't think the Design Review Board's condition was unreasonable. Your architect can build the house at that height. You know he can. You don't want it that height. I understand that, and I do apologize. But at the same time, we do have a compatibility ordinance. We do have that. We do have guidelines, design guidelines that say that new infill houses will be compatible with the rest of the block. And your design right now is not compatible. You can build the house. You can fulfill those conditions. You can build the house. You're still going to have the tallest house on the block. Your neighbors are probably still going to be unhappy, but at least they will have gotten some relief out of it. And I think you should do that. I think you should bring it down and resubmit. But do I think that the Design Review Board's conditions were unreasonable or outside their scope? No. And that's really what I would have to decide to overturn their decision. So no matter what, someone's going to be unhappy. I'm sorry you're unhappy, but I think you can still build a really spectacular house up there.
Mr. Najarian?
Thank you. First off, I have not spoken to the applicant or any of the other neighbors or any of the professionals hired to advance this project. But does everyone appreciate the irony of this project? These are the homes and neighbors in Oakmont 4, that are complaining that a home that's being built in their midst is too massive and it's incompatible and it doesn't fit in. I mean, Oakmont 4. When we look at incompatible and inappropriate development in the city, people point to the hill and say, look at Oakmont 4. When we had to fight the fight of all fights to save our hillsides in Oakmont 5, all people had to do was say, it could be like that, like Oakmont 4. And the money poured in, and Sacramento jumped in, and the preservationists came in because I don't know how Oakmont 4 ever got approved and built. It is and I apologize to all my friends that live there. The homes are massive. The homes are not even a stone's throw.
Distance.
Very close to each other. And we've got the neighbors in that development complaining that the new proposed home is too massive and too bulky. I'm sorry, I just find that the irony just sort of kills me when I hear about that. But I want the applicant to know that I do appreciate and respect property rights, but because this lot is a, is it called a substandard lot? It's less than 80 feet. The city can impose conditions on the development. And the conditions that the Design Review Board unanimously imposed was that you lower the height slightly. They didn't even give you a firm number. They said drop it down in the garage and lower your ceiling height on the first floor only from 11 feet to 10 feet. I see this to be a very modest adjustments. Some people that come before us are getting a whole second floor wiped out, or they're being forced to reduce the home by thousands of square feet. This is not what we have here. This is a modest adjustment in an overbuilt neighborhood where all we're trying to do is make sure that this doesn't stick out like the sore thumb on a hand that's already bleeding. I hope that the applicant changes his mind. It's a modest adjustment. It's a home that your children will enjoy. They'll be happy to look out and see the views. When they're 16, make sure they don't drive too fast up that hill, though. We get a lot of complaints of fast driving. I can't approve it without imposing those conditions that the Design Review Board asked for. So I am going to sustain I'm going to sustain the Design Review Board's decision.
Just one comment before Mr. Sinanian. Oakmont 4 was the genesis of the hillside ordinance. It's when everybody driving up the 2 saw that up on the hill, Oakmont 3 and 4, said never again. When I was president of the Homeowners Coordinating Council, I put together a team of professionals, some 20 people. We worked on modifications so you couldn't put the homes so close together. Just looked like a wall of homes. And the city worked on it too, and in 93, the hillside ordinance was adopted. And that's what we live by now. And then, of course, we fiddled with the Design Review Board, and we straightened that out over the next few years. Mrs. Sinanian?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to ask a question of our Deputy City Attorney. I did meet with Mr. Saroyan. I'm estimating sometime in July of last year. I met with him like I meet with any other constituent who wants to meet. And this issue was discussed. I have had no contact with him since then. It was a new issue. I heard him out, and that was the end of it. Does that in of itself conflict me out of this process?
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, Councilman Sinanian, no, it does not. Unless you were biased to a point that you feel that your decision-making capability this evening would be compromised in some way.
It wouldn't. It would not.
It would not.
It would not. So with that in mind, I'll go into my analysis of it. To the extent I understand this correctly, the setbacks for this property appear to be much bigger, at least on the sides, than every other property on that strip. Is that the case?
Setback?
The setbacks
From the street?
from the
That is the
from
case.
neighboring properties.
Well, that is the case, and since the time that the subdivision was done, we have actually expanded.
Side setbacks.
We have added to setbacks, and a lot of the standards have changed.
So I am troubled by the fact that all these neighbors are basically building on 70-80% or even more of their property, and the new guy is somehow being forced to build on 30% or 25%. There's something fundamentally unfair about that. I don't know. Is there something we can consider? That's just not normal. But it is what it is right now.
It is what it is right now, and the option that usually property owners have if they want to meet the old setbacks is that they can apply for a variance, and from time to time we could review them. Yes.
So that's actually an option.
That's an option that they could have taken, and whether or not it would have been approved is unknown, but a variance process is for that purpose.
Okay, when he's going through, he or she or whoever it is, the person is going through the variance process, the fact that all the other neighbors have a different setback requirement would obviously be taken into consideration, right? That process wouldn't be considered in a vacuum. It would be considered under the totality of circumstances.
Yes, in other property within the same vicinity, that would be taken into account.
Okay, thank you. Because, the problem that stems from that is just the size of the property you end up having. If you can't expand horizontally, then you're sort of forced to expand vertically. Having said that, though, I was looking for a different answer when I asked Mr. Saroyan as to what's the problem with not being able to dig 2 feet into, just depress it more into the ground and therefore find a resolution. And I thought the answer would be something like it's cost prohibitive, it's too expensive, it's unfair, and all I heard was that I just don't want to do it, it's depressing, or, it was sort of a vague answer, which I'm not, considering the fact that we do have a process. There's a reason we have DRB. We've all appointed people to DRB, and hopefully we've all appointed them for a good reason, because of some type of expertise related to architecture or real estate in general. And they make a decision based on that and the recommendation of staff. And they've looked at, again, the street. They've looked at the way it's going to end up looking, and they're entitled to do it. I don't see that they've really exceeded any of their authority. And I'm hoping, again, I'm going to uphold DRB's decision also. And I'm hoping that the applicant will consider taking those remedial measures that will bring this thing into compliance with the staff's recommendation in the first place.
Thank you. I add one thing. You can see clearly in the one was given. The house on this side and the same with the house on the other side, they have retaining walls. Because theirs, they dug down and they had to build a retaining wall on the sides. I don't know, but the applicant may not have the problem with building retaining walls since the neighbors already have them there. And possibly he could get relief in the setback because
variance
because it'd be compatible with all the other houses there, which would allow him to bring down and spread out some. I don't know the rooms and the sizes and stuff, but if he did that, put it down like the others, he in essence would be able to build a house just like all the others on the street. Press driveway, set down height, spread it out. The possibilities are there. It's just what options, if we we're denying him here, what options can we give him? Does he have to pay all the fees and go through the whole thing again? Can we shortcut any of that?
Look, this was his choice. He knew that he could comply with the DRB's
Understood. I'm just asking.
Conditions. So he made the choice to kind of roll the dice with us.
I would support the mayor's.
Well, I don't know.
We actually, if I may, Mr. Mayor, we do not have the authority to waive the fee. If he wants to reapply with the conditions that the council will impose, then he will have to pay the fee and go back to the design review board.
Would it, since he's gone through this whole process, would there be any shortening of the time period because the design review board is totally familiar with the site? If it's depressed the way they want, then it's not the compatibility, it's more the architectural styling because it would be a little different shape. I mean, would he be saving sometimes? He's not going to go out and have to get the whole lot resurveyed, whatever, you know what I mean?
It all depends on whether or not the applicant is willing to meet the conditions in the first set of the drawings. As soon as he comes in with drawings that staff believes will meet the conditions that the council is going to impose, we will deem the application complete and we'll schedule it. Sometimes it takes a little while before the applicant and staff agreed whether or not it meets the conditions.
I'd like him to have that house for his family. It'd be nice if he'll just listen to us. be willing to do it. He has said absolutely not, but he's going to get the same vote from us as he got from design review. So the option's open to you, sir, what you want to do with it. There's no more discussion. Is there a motion? What I guess it'd be 9A1.
I'll move 9A1.
Second. Okay, roll call.
Council members: Friedman,
Yes.
Marion,
Yes.
Taro, Sinanian.
Yes.
Mayor Weaver.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you all for coming tonight. And what is next, please?
Next item on the agenda is oral communication. Discussion is limited to items not part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Council may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. City manager may refer the matter to the appropriate department for investigation and report.
Let's see. The other oral communications goes where?
I'm sorry, ask the question again, please.
Where does the rest of the oral communications go?
Where does it go?
After,
You can take it after, at this point, you can take it before your reports or information?
because you have down the next one is Chief Information Officer.
Yes.
Website.
There is a presentation. This is how we've split it up currently. There's only 2 cards for oral communications.
Right.
It's up to you, Mr. Mayor, how you wish to take it.
How long is the website thing?
Very short. Very short.
Well, go ahead with it.
All right. So moving to the next item, it would be number 10, reports and information. 10A is Chief Information Officer regarding website demonstration.
Mr. Rochelle.
We just want to continue to whet the appetite for the new website that will be unveiled in the coming next month. We are field testing it at this point, taking information and feedback, and certainly want to bring it to the council so you continue to add your brushstrokes to the canvas. With that, CIO Brian Ganley will give you a very brief update.
Whet our appetite.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'm here to give just a brief presentation on what we have upcoming with our new website that we'll be launching next month. This is a quick sneak preview. I'll talk about the launch date, the new website and email addresses that we're working on, and the next steps that we have between now and April. So I have first just a few sneak preview pictures of what the home page of the new website will look like. So this would be one. Beautiful graphics, much different than today's website. Another example here of the Community Services and Parks department page. We're finalizing all of the department pages now and working with each of the departments and their cross-departmental team on updating content and eliminating out-of-date content. So this is one example. Another example of a departmental page, the police web page. Again, the background graphics, the new navigation, meant to be very easy to use and keep that content that is most commonly searched for or used on the website the easiest to find and read. So we'll be launching the website on April 2nd next month. We'll, before that time, be rolling it out to city staff to help us test and preview the site, give us any feedback that we may need. That will include a presentation back here at Council on April 1st with the live website, not a PowerPoint, but the actual site itself, and we'll launch that the next morning. We will be using, just a reminder, I think I've mentioned this before, our new domain name, glendaleca.gov. So that will be used for the website, which will be www.glendaleca.gov, as well as all city staff email addresses. So we've recently communicated with staff that every staff member can use for incoming email their username at glendaleca.gov now. And on the same day we launch the website, April 2nd, we'll be flipping the switch, and outgoing email will use that same address.
So we get all new business cards, right?
We'll let you.
I know what you're going to say.
The nice thing is that the old email addresses that we're currently using will continue to work for probably several years into the future until we can determine that there's absolutely no use of those. So we'll save a little bit of money on not needing to replace everyone's business cards at once. So the next steps for the web team, Final preparations for the site, reaching out for feedback to staff, working with PIO for the marketing and branding of the launch on April 2nd. That's all I have for tonight. I'm available for any questions.
That was brief. Any questions? No? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening. Okay, next, please.
Mr. Mayor and Council, next item is oral communications. As stated, discussion will be limited to items not on this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. You may question or respond to a speaker, but there will be no debate or decision.
Okay, first speaker is Mike Mohill, followed by Sig Marksunian.
Good evening, council members and the viewing audience. My name is Mike Mohill. On the eve of the 4th of July, 2013, a group of concerned citizens met at Glendale Central Library because Glendale City Council was planning to raise the electric rates of the people without their consent. This action was in violation of Proposition 26 of the state constitution. On August 6, 2013, our city council, without the express approval of the people, raised our electric rates 29.1% over the next 5 years because our politicians since 2000 depleted approximately $250 million from Glendale Water and Power and decided to use that money for non-utility usage. Little over a year ago, a GWP meeting was held at the Glendale Police Station headquarters. Our new city manager, Scott Ochoa, informed the people's attorney, Professor Harry Zavos, that the utility company had about $150 million in 2005. Today, practically nothing is left in our utility company. Mr. Ochoa and Mayor Weaver, where did the people's money go? Why did we need to have another electric rate increase last year, plus another $60 million bond? Why? Why did we transfer all that money to the general fund to pay for the bloated salaries and pensions of our union workforce? Mayor Weaver, why did you have to tell Professor Zavos if he did not like the way the GWP was running, he should sue the city? Mayor Weaver, why did you tell this speaker a couple of months ago, if I did not like the way the city was being run, I should just leave? Mayor Weaver, in all due respect, did the people elect you king? I thought we had elected you as a council person accountable to the people. Last week, the Glendale Coalition for Better Government fought back and reluctantly filed a lawsuit against the city of Glendale for the illegal transfer of millions of dollars from Glendale Water and Power to the general fund to be used for non-GWP purposes. Glendale Coalition for Better Government welcome members of the community who are looking for integrity, accountability, responsiveness, and transparency in city government. The coalition is an all-volunteer, nonpartisan, nonprofit organization. Their website is www.glendalecacoalition.org. Earlier this year, another group of concerned citizens formed the Tax Limitation Committee. These citizens are currently circulating a petition throughout the city to repeal the city's 7% utilities user tax on water, electricity, gas, phone, and cell phones. These citizens are upset because the taxes of the Glendale Water and Power is being transferred to the city's general fund. Last year alone, about $21 million transferred from our utility company. Subsequently, to add insult to injury, our city council members claim Glendale Water and Power needs more money to run its utility company and continues to increase on our rates on water, electricity, and new bond obligations. When is enough is enough? Why is GWP why is GWP being used as a cash cow in violation of the city charter? As struggling families and small merchants try to survive in this economy, the question being asked is, where is all the money going? Prior to the American Revolution against the British, in 1776, the cry heard throughout the 13 colonies was taxation without representation. Now in the city of Glendale, a different cry is being heard when citizens have to reluctantly revolt and sue their local government or seek a petition to repeal misused taxes. When our elected officials do not want to listen to the people, but are beholden to the unions as well as large developers, then a citizen's revolt is a natural reaction. A few merchants where one can sign the petition to repeal the city's utility users tax are Adams Square, Christie Cleaners, Adams Kebab, Kenneth Village, Jerry Armin Realtor, George Casino Restaurant, Montrose, Trotter Flooring, Domino's, Pizza, Twigs and Things, and finally, South Glendale Antique Car Wash, Bond Brakes, and Boris Auto Repair in Chevy Chase Canyon. Thank you.
Thank
My
you.
name is Mike Mohill.
Next speaker, Sid Maksudian. Did I get it right?
Excuse me?
Did I get it right?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the council. As you remember, I was in front of you almost a month or a week ago regarding revelations about the Chevy Chase and Broadway and regarding the smoking issues and some activities of drug dealing and not smoking but dealing. But these are hearsay, just to make clear to you all that. As I've left this podium that night, and ever since I visited the area approximately 6 or 7 times, I've did my diligent work basically removing, by the permission of the management, one of those trash bins that was right across from the Jim's Donut, which was the catalyst for those individuals to smoke on a daily basis, which he agreed and that trash bin was removed. Second, we've talked vigorously and very patiently with those individuals. Most of them are of Armenian American descent, of course. And there are a few, one, Anglo-Saxon, the other one basically, just another individual who's there on a daily basis. It's an ongoing problem. It has slowed down tremendously, thanks to the Glendale PD, their diligent work on a daily basis, whenever they can, ticketing those individuals and making a dent into the situation. I also approached the school district, which they assigned a liaison to me. He said, give me a few days and I'll get back to you, because they want to do their own research because of the proximity to the school, because there's like about 4 or 5 establishments selling cigarettes in one strip mall, which is not even 300 feet away from that particular school, John Marshall. There are concerns, but one of the concerns is the following. There's a way to deter this problem, because even though the mayor mentioned last time that he frequents there in the morning and he doesn't smell anything, of course nobody's smoking dope in the morning, except coffee and donuts. This issue starts getting up in the afternoons and late wee hours. But you gentlemen and ladies have the power of revocable permits and conditional use permits. Because let's remember, any business that opens up their doors in the city of Glendale has to go through a process. The Jim Donuts and others, whoever might be in the city of Glendale, who starts off with a goodwill and good intentions and a small business, we all have to encourage them, as long as they stay in the confines of those rules that are set for them. 30 or 40 years ago, this individual had opened a donut shop to sell donuts. He progressed, and as a matter of fact, just about a month ago, the propriety changed hands to another Vietnamese American gentleman, which is a new owner going through escrow. We have to make them clear that selling donuts is the proper thing to do, and he must confine himself to selling donuts. And plus, he has tables and chairs there that gives the catalyst for these individuals to sit there and gamble. It's basically a gambling house. If you put someone there from morning till midnight, you will see there's more lottery being sold than donuts. And I'm not against donuts nor lottery. But let's state it on the conditional use permit. What is this business is all about that you gentlemen or the predecessors have approved it for? So we can make a dent by taking away certain rights, which is in the hands of the city council, planning commission, and department. Is this that? If the community starts thinking very hard, we have tools that the gentleman or the owners of the donut shop should seize or try to do their best to their clients to say, if you buy a ticket from us, please take the ticket and leave. Do not sit here, because the chairs and the tables, I'm not even sure if it was kind of approved by anyone, It could have been grandfathered in somehow. I don't know. I haven't looked into it yet. But if you're going to sit in, that you become a sit-in restaurant. These are fast food. Fast food, according to my knowledge as builder, is that if you're going to have tables and chairs, you must have a bathroom. The requirement is there. But at 2007, the rules have changed, which grandfathers in, which doesn't allow her to have handicapped bathrooms. But yet, you have tables and chairs. So by removing tables and chairs within the confines of the building and safety codes and, of course, the department, that could make a dent. So we could encourage him to stay as a donut shop, but we should discourage him becoming, which he is, a gambling hall. Those Armenian individuals are there at a length of time, and unworthy characters, and I'll say this in front of the cameras today, I will say it tomorrow, until these individuals, or civic duty, council members, Armenian-speaking individuals within your departments, if you can allow or go there, speak to these individuals, maybe they will understand that this cannot be business as usual. It's not prosperous for the community. It's not good for the children at John Marshall. And it's not good for the image of all the Armenians and Americans that would live together side by side. I thank you for your time. If you have any questions, I will gladly answer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What is next, please?
Is there any new business?
Yes, Ms. Friedman.
I would like to move that the city attorney be and hereby is authorized to initiate legal action in Superior Court. The name of the action, the defendant, and the nature of the action shall be disclosed to any person upon inquiry once the action has commenced. The city attorney is authorized to seek appropriate relief, including writ relief, as authorized by the council. The city attorney is further authorized to incur any and all expenses necessary in connection with said matter.
Second.
Roll call.
Council members Friedman?
Yes.
I'm sorry, do we specify which matter it is? No. Okay. Got it.
Najarian?
Yes.
Taro? Sinanian?
No.
Mayor Weaver?
Aye. Did you voted? Oh.
I have another bit of new business. I move that the city attorney be and hereby is authorized to enter into a retainer agreement with the law firm of Colantuono and Levin to represent the city of Glendale in the matter entitled Glendale Coalition for Better Government versus the City of Glendale, case number BS. Case number BS. I'm not kidding you. 147376. The retainer agreement shall, in addition to other provisions, contain a fee cap for work as assigned by the city attorney.
You put emphasis on there, didn't
Second.
you? Okay, roll call.
Council members Friedman?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
Taro? Sinanian?
Yes.
Mayor Weaver?
Aye. What's next? Anything?
There's no other items. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Adjourned at 8:08.